Channels Television's in-house data analyst Babajide Ogusowo joins us now for more on this. Babajide, it's great to have you on the news at 10.
Thank you.
How is our debt profile affecting our economy?
We can describe it with one word, and I'll use the word shocking. But I'll do something more that would even perhaps shock you a bit more. And if I were to...
Oh my gosh.
Propose to you now, you don't need to give me an answer.
Okay.
You don't need to give me an answer right now. But
great.
I'll tell you what it means. I'll assume you will say yes to my proposal. I'll assume.
Assume.
But if you do say yes, it means three things. It means I owe you loyalty first. The second thing it means is I owe you some level of protection. The third thing is, even though I wouldn't want to accept it, I owe you the use of my debit card, at least once in a while.
Yeah.
But I owe you these three things because I've made a promise. So here's what it all means. It means we can't talk about Nigeria's debt in isolation. We need to talk about Nigeria's debt and talk about the promises we've made in history. So that takes us back to 5.5 decades ago, when that promise in 1961 for low debt profile. Then our total external debt was only 50 million naira. Today, our total external debt, based on the last report from the Bureau of Statistics, is $7.6 billion, the equivalent of 2.7 trillion naira. What it was in 2005 when we were then asked for the Paris Club debt.
Yeah.
Now, a year after the debt had been structured, 2006, our total external debt was only 451 billion naira, a remarkable drop from the 2.7 trillion naira the year before. In simple terms, in 2006, what it meant was our total external debt compared to the total federally collected revenue was only 8%. Today, based on the last report, 2015 end of year report, shows that our total external debt compared to total federally collected revenue has moved from 8% that it was in 2006 after the Paris Club debt to 31%.
And this is accumulated over the years, of course.
And this has accumulated over the years. So clearly this shows that there's a lot of pressure on the federal collected revenue in terms of debt, because we've seen that significant increase. Though, in terms of is our debt sustainable? Oh yes, if we especially look at it based on GDP ratios. But GDP doesn't pay the debt. It's the income from the federal account that pays the debt. So we've seen a remarkable growth in debt relative to federal revenue.
So if we have this huge external debt, I mean, this is accumulated over time, is it still advisable to borrow now to finance our budgets, as the Ministry of Finance has said?
It depends on what we want to use the borrowing for. And I recollect just 3 years ago, here's what the World Bank said. They said, Nigeria's economy is puzzling. They say after a decade of economic growth, they do not see any significant improvement in the welfare of the people, despite significant economic growth. And this is the World Bank just 3 years ago. So if the debt will be used for the welfare of the people, then we'll check it, yes. But if the debt will be accumulated for some other frivolous reasons, then it doesn't seem likely for us to go for it. So here's what it means. It means we need to see a clear plan of what those funds will be utilized for and how it will impact on the indices of welfare on the people.
Is that where we can actually check borrowing and actually check the accumulation of debts? For example, the states have been borrowing. I know the federal government gives its approval for these states to borrow, but is it possible for the federal government to limit how much states can borrow?
Perhaps not. But here's what it is. We need to even first of all look at what the states use the funds for. Just last week on Sunrise Daily, we had that heated debate on what Kogi had used $12 million for. And they clearly had said they had used $12 million to finance 100 cars. But I'll tell you some other story about this same figure, $12 million, that Mark Zuckerberg had borrowed from Accel Partners in 2005. So he had used his own $12 million, and he didn't use it for cars. He used it to invest in Facebook. Today, Facebook has a revenue in excess of $17 billion. What it means is Facebook currently has enough revenue to pay for all the IGR that all 36 states, including the federal government, earn. So it depends on what we want to use all our funds for. We need to prioritize the use of funds.
A lesson there for everyone, especially for the government. Thank you so much, Babajide. And
You never said anything to...
We will consider your proposal after the break.